Hi, my name is Robert Sweeney, and I've been asked to do a video about emotions and triggers for the past week as part of an ADC 660 class project. This was actually an unusually emotional week for me. I was called into the supervisor's office twice at work. First, there were complaints about my work, and then second, we had to do a periodic performance review. Now, the review is an institutional thing. We have to complete a survey about how we rate our own work on several indicators when compared to our peers. There are questions like commitment to service quality, rate a 1 for poor up to 3 for exceptional. A 2 means meets expectations. It's a game I hate to play. I think I'm pretty good at what I do. I'm double the age of most of my coworkers, including the supervisor, and I've had a lot of experience in training, so I should do good work. But I worry whether my opinion of my work is valid or an indication of the arrogance and hubris I've been told is one of my worst qualities. The review requires the supervisor rate each worker on the same questions and then meet with us to discuss the variances. And in theory, we have a chance to negotiate any real differences, but what happens is she tells us why we're wrong and about a 2.5 versus a 2.0 as if it actually matters. And then she explains that the raises are based on these scores. But of course, she's learned that the raises are actually fixed, so the scores are meaningless. It's all frustrating, it's time wasting, it's typical of every large company I've ever known, and I should stress about it less than I really do. But it was pretty stressful, and I hated going through it. The complaint meeting was similar in that I thought I'd handled a difficult situation well, alone, without supervision or support, as we often work alone on second and third shifts. But it hurt a lot more because there was no anonymous company process in place. In a circumstance where we need to complete state-mandated forms, I ran into a case in which the client involved couldn't function. He was too overwhelmed and emotional, and as a representative of the county, a delegate, I needed to authorize a warrant. But he couldn't write a justification that I could use. He was just not capable of writing it. I've held the position in other counties. There are strict rules governing what one can and cannot do. Given that, I wrote a review of what the client, the EMTs, and the police had told me verbally, and attached that as an explanation for why I authorized a warrant on such a flimsy report written by the client. My supervisor's response was to suspend my delegation for a month to consider the alternatives and perhaps be retrained on procedures. It seems that what she wanted was for me to write my note in the client's spot on the form on his behalf and have him sign it as his own, a practice specifically forbidden in other counties, but practiced in this one. I was embarrassed. I now have to rely on coworkers to act as a delegate on my cases. I was disappointed. I thought I'd come up with a clean compromise to meet all the requirements of the company, the county, the state, the client, and it was a difficult situation. I thought I had done okay. I felt angry. I wouldn't be in the situation if our training had covered this kind of case, or if my supervisor or coworkers were more accessible after hours. I have a terrible time getting hold of anyone to answer the call after hours, and this was a Saturday night. I didn't even try calling anybody. And I was worried. I've been fired for less at other jobs. My supervisor likes to think of herself as a friend. After all, she was a crisis worker for more than 20 years before her promotion. We often joke about whether I'm being fired today, but the truth is, I don't trust that she won't fire me. She will cite rules and processes when it's convenient, has limited empathy for others, and likes quick fixes that please her superiors. So, just like so many other supervisors, I've had it before. They all claim they want me to think out of the box and be creative, but they never back me up if someone else dislikes coloring outside the lines. How can I trust that? A few days later after that, I learned that a friend, a retired school teacher my partner and I had known for years, had died from an undetected blood clot in her lung. I was saddened, I was surprised. She'd been a sweet, gentle person and active only a few weeks ago. I was, and still am, more concerned about her husband. They were a close couple for more than 50 years. Mike is a man with infinite energy and curiosity, and without his Joan as an anchor, I don't know what kind of trouble he could get himself into. I found that my emotions were a lot stronger when the issues were about my actions and my work moments that touched my self-esteem. When it was about someone else, it was easy to focus on others, making it a less painful process. I can relate that observation to my experience as a kid. Boys aren't supposed to be emotional in any sense unless it's related to work or sports. In my family in particular, we moved frequently, and the adults from extended families rarely spent time together. Our nuclear family worked together doing social services. So we were insular. We felt stronger, more ethical, and more righteous than our peers who just did stuff like retail or industry. My father would propose topics for debate at the dinner table and critique my brothers and my performances. He could be pretty brutal too. After all, he was a rocket scientist. So we felt more educated and better spoken than others as well, hence the hubris. When a moment results in a topic for debate, I line up the arguments before even thinking about whether I should speak about it or not. It's just automatic. I also tend to swallow the argument bitterly and simply accept the directive if it's from a superior, rather than rationally looking at their side of the issue, my actions, or the options involved. It's just old habit. This is the way I was raised. When the circumstance is similar to dealing with a client, though, like the death of a friend's wife, it's easy to put aside emotions and seek a way to be of service, to go back to work. So, that's me, right?